Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks. A little bit of a weird audio level on issue there on the intro, but yeah, it's probably fine. As per usual, we are back with Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera and generally watch how things go incredibly wrong, because Lord knows very few things in Minecraft actually go correctly. So we have a few things to show off from development of the last week. Also, I think Nick might have been right about pretzel there. Yes, that's the only constant I've seen with the sound issues, which is weird, but there's probably like been an update somewhere or some option has been turned on or off or something. Okay, so just gonna put in F1 mode here so I don't get the settlement views. Here and we have a few mobs, and let me add a couple more just to actually let's go with a husk, just so that we actually have like meaningful what's the phrase here? Meaningful sample size, I guess. And here we'll have a pillager, because that seems like a other good suggestion. There we go. Okay. Right. So I've been working on the railroad all of the livelong day, and I have gotten a bunch of new potion effects in. So we have previously Dazed was the only effect. I believe that's this one. Yep. And it only worked for specifically bipedal mobs with this exact model, essentially. But now it can work on pillagers, as well as our goblins. Previously it didn't work on the oddities, which seems to be a sequencing bug with like when I was actually attaching the layer renderer and such, but now it works perfectly fine. Very nice. You might still see some like weirdness with like when mobs are moving their heads around, but it shouldn't be that huge of an issue. But we also have visuals for being petrified, of which you are currently immune to because you're undead, but that's probably a thing I should change. Not sure. But you can now turn basically any mob in the game into a statue. I do want to do a little bit more work so that they don't keep their idle animations there. We just set the incoming agent ticks value to be 0 the whole time, and that should just freeze them in place. We can also give it like special randomized limb swing kind of details so that they actually like are frozen in a pose rather than just being basically like T-posed, but you know, that's nice. And I recently re-implemented as well Entangled, which is a 99% or 90%, I can't remember which, very high, suffice to say, slowness effect. But because it's not 100%, it means certain effects can actually get rid of it. And it doesn't stop you doing anything else, so you don't end up being shoved into third person, you don't end up like not being able to interact with stuff, you just move really slowly. So it's just sort of a nice touch. And as you can see, this works on everybody, basically, except for you because you're undead. But bleh. That is the major amount of work that I have done. We also have, I found my way over here, we have also added a re-implementation of the petrifying status effect, which, if anybody remembers from 1.12, basically means, it basically serves as a counter. So it ticks down towards 0, and every instance is about 10 seconds long, and when you finally hit 0 seconds on amplifier 0, then you get petrified. It's a way of allowing players actual window of opportunity where they can actually do things like use stone salve or get somewhere safe or such before they become fully petrified. Basically because we realized that it is extremely common that players will be using this mod in single player, and if they are using it as a hardcore world, if they just get petrified instantaneously, then they're dead. They have no one to come and like depetrify them, they have no opportunity to depetrify themselves, so their hardcore world is just over. So we wanted to make sure that that actually, like, worked okay. So let's just shoot that off. There we go, petrifying. Number 6. And there is a little particle effect every time we degrade. Or there usually is. Interesting. I wonder why that's not working. Works on the mobs. And petrifying evidently doesn't have its icon. I think I just forgot to refresh the resources for that, because it has been implemented. See if I'm still alive by the time that this reboots. There we go. Yeah. I would prefer it actually to like showed a number on it, but yeah. But as you can see, it ticks down steadily and our speed gets gradually lower. Very slow, so you have increasingly little time to actually get to a safe place or whatnot. And this will be my final bow for the moment. I don't know how many times I've died in this role, but you do die a lot in test worlds, so there we go. You have turned to stone. This condition is permanent. Same options and selection as the paralysis screen, except that we don't have peripheral view. We just have this dirt view. We can click that to die. Obviously, if you're in a hardcore world, that's not a huge option. And if you lose the petrified status effect, it opens up much the same way as paralysis does. So that is how we allow for opportunities to get out of that situation. We also have a number of new species. The species screen has been fully kitted out here. Looks very nice, very sweet. I like it. We have the options here, reducing the species. We can exit without one if we want. And we've got a whole bunch of species to choose from. I'm currently in survival mode, so these are the ones that you will see by default. So let me just list them off here. We have the Aasimar, we have creepers, dwarves, gnomes, goblins, half-orcs, halflings, kobolds, lizardfolk, necropolitan, orc, tiefling, troglodytes. Quite a selection there. And I think troglodyte's the highest rating of the survival available ones. Green Dragon has been moved to being a creative-only one, just because it was kind of ridiculously powerful at 5 stars. It was a matter of, if you are playing in survival, why would you not pick Green Dragon? So, we kept with that. The button down here also shows up if you have custom types, so let's see, types, set, target, dev 2, augmented construct is what I usually go for, there we go. So, yep, custom types. Custom creature types may cause unintended effects if retained after choosing a species, so we click this button, goes to keep, goes to lose. By default it's on lose, because that will ensure the least amount of unintended of unintentional effects, that kind of thing. Let me see, the new most of these haven't changed too much, but we do have some additions. So Creeper is a new addition. Strength -4, so you cannot deal melee damage unless you have a fairly long, I feel like mid to long term kind of sword. But you do have explosion. The intention here is really that explosion is your main weapon, so don't choose this if you're in a hardcore world. Dwarves are currently kind of overpowered because they get an extra heart of health. They have dark vision. They have the stability ability here, reduces incoming knockback by about 20%, I think it is. And they are medium sized, but they're actually slightly shorter than most players. So if I choose that, yep, I'm a little bit shorter now. Not that you'd necessarily be able to know, but I'm short enough that I automatically go into crouch pose when I get there. I don't actually know exactly what's causing that behavior, but it's not a huge problem, I think, if players do that. But yeah, dwarves are currently overpowered because they're basically just all positives. More health, dark vision, less knockback. They have a substantially longer list of positives inside of D&D 3.5. But then they have like a negative of their about 30% slower than a human is, but conversely, 30% slower is like slowness level 2 constantly. So let me just simulate that for a hot second. Slowness 2. Where's that? 2. Yeah. So this would be your walking speed, and this would be your running speed, and this is as fast as you could possibly move if you were a dwarf without any other effects. And it's just like, it feels like it would be painful. It feels like slowness 2 is maybe too much there to like actually call it a meaningful limit. Like at that point, basically nobody picks dwarf ever, I think, because people value their capacity to move around the world. But you know, dark vision stability and an extra heart of health is not nothing. So they also have an ability to know how far like down in the world they are, so I might add an ability for that. But again, even at that point, it's still very, very significantly like, this feels overpowered for a 0-star. We also have gnomes, who have the same health as dwarves, but they're small. So, yep, teeny tiny. Like, just look at that. At this point, I almost feel like I should be reducing their jump height or the step speed or something. But yep, there we go. That's gnomes for you. This is using the final, or at least for now, levels between the heights, so consequently we do have massive and tiny. I can't really demonstrate colossal or gargantuan because they're so massive that the third-person camera doesn't go far enough out to see them, really. Colossal, in fact, is still so large that you actually are still inside of your own head if you're in F5 mode. So there's that. But I think the top height for a player in Colossal bracket would be 16 blocks. I think it starts at 12, so it's pretty nice. But if you thought gnomes were small, let me introduce you to halflings, who are hardly even 1 block. Lot of different height options is what I'm saying here. Half-orcs and orcs are also medium-sized, but they're actually slightly taller. So in the case of half-orcs, I think they're like 1.9. You can see they're pretty tall. They're pretty tall. They're almost 2 blocks tall there. Whereas orcs are, I think, so high that they actually need to crouch when they're going through a 2-block tall area. But they get light sensitivity, but they also have dark vision and +2 strength. That means 3 punch damage, which is like pure melee. They have 3 damage. Pretty nice. But can't fit through this, more or less. Like, it is kind of absurd. And they also can't crouch through that anymore. A pity. Okay, let me just blip. And need to quickly check, because I could have sworn I might have fudged the numbers to the point. Yeah, there we go. Okay, just quickly checking. I fixed a bug, which was that if you picked a race, or a species, I should say, because race has connotations, that had a size ability and such, then if you already had one, it wouldn't change, because it would recognize it's the exact same map name, so it doesn't, it's the exact same map name, all species share a source ID, so they're all identical, so your cache inside of your living data wouldn't recognize a change, so it wouldn't actually update to the values of the new ability. So now, when you select a species, it erases the abilities of your previous species and then loads the new ones, so it always applies the new ones. Oh yes, the effect of light sensitivity is that you are dazzled whenever you are whenever you are out in sunlight or bright light. So something to bear in mind. I am including some 1-stars and of course the 2-star troglodytes, who are mostly 2-star because they have 6 base armor. That's 3 whole plates of armor just from spawn. plus an extra 2 hearts. They're pretty tanky. They don't actually have any like abilities to survive in water for some reason, but you know, extra health I guess helps improving it. And a bunch of 1-stars and 1 2-star. It's kind of like, I think that's a decent balance. And then you've mostly got halflings, half-orcs, goblins, and like all sorts of stuff. Just like, okay, I want to play this kind of way. I want to play this kind of way. And if you want to be basically immune to a whole ton of stuff, then you can be Necropolitan, because you only have to worry about holy damage, which admittedly is cheap to make. So there's that. And also 30 health. Dear lord. No natural armor, but 30 health. Oof. Let's see, there's... resistance to fire is not nothing. Like, this value is very low, but that's because fire damage and such actually tends to be fairly low values. Lightning tends to be higher, because lightning bolts are the chief distributor of it. But fire damage is usually only a couple points. So, resistance to fire 2 is approaching immunity. Approaching. And yes, I think it's... Is it Asimar and Tiefling get? No, I'm thinking of templates. There's a template for Fiendish and Celestial, which also will be getting fairly soon, possibly today, who knows, a actual ability called Smite, which allows them to deal extra damage to the next creature they hit that is of a certain type, namely evil or good. Kobolds, poor kobolds. They have less health. They have half a chest plate of natural armor, light sensitivity, and strength -2, which pretty much means a stone sword, if swung in a brightly lit space, is entirely useless to them. So kobolds definitely need to take advantage of like environmental traps and such, I guess, but they don't currently have like a bonus to that. So we don't much worry about it. I feel like there was something else I did recently. Oh, right. I haven't introduced 2 of the other status effects I've implemented. Because I said we re-implemented... I went through and I tried to re-implement as a bunch of the 112 ones as possible. So, these guys are kind of noisy. So let me give all of the goblins around me a new ability, a new status effect called Silenced. It's like... Well, I guess it's like silence. I would say it's like music to my ears, but it's the actual exact opposite of that. So the silenced effect... First off, prevents ambient and hurt noises happening. So if a mob would be, like, injured, or if it would just, like, make its general noise, it can't, until the effect wears off. The second effect of it is that you can't use chat when you are silenced. So, test... Blip. Always eat shredded. Wait. Okay. And give me that effect for 30 seconds. So you can, I should note, you can still use commands, because if I made a status effect that prevented admins from operating, then it would be kind of weird. So blip. Nope. Not a thing. You can't. You also can't see it happening like that, which is the same happens with the deafened effect that I'll show in a hot second. The reason for that is though that you know that it's still active, even if it's like hidden from your main menu, if it's just here. But okay. The deafened effect is very similar in that the silence effect prevents sounds from being issued, whereas the deafened effect prevents sounds being played client-side. It also prevents most forms of chat from appearing inside of your client. So you can't see chat, including your own chat. So there is a theoretical opportunity wherein someone is deafened, doesn't necessarily realize it, and is just constantly sending out text chat to try and determine if they can hear anything anymore. So like when somebody doesn't realize they've been deafened after a bomb blast, they're like, "What? Speak up!" But that looks like this. So I can't hear anything whatsoever. Can't see chat. But I can run commands still. It doesn't change what you can put in chat, it just stops chat from being seen. So that is the majority of what I've recently re-implemented. Today I have been mostly working on the Orcs over here. There was a bug which meant that the item that they were holding in their mouths was not properly aligned to the jaw. So I've got this weird as heck kind of quick setup that basically resembles a DDR pad, just so that I can like make them move around a bunch, so that I can verify if it's in the right place. And I think it works now. I think it's good. It still has a little bit of slip, but I think it's about as close as I can get to perfect on this, so should be fine. Should be fine. Right. I think the next we have two major options. We can work on wargs today, or we can start implementing something that's going to be hastily necessary, which is the item that lets you remove petrifying and petrified from people, including yourself, which is a low-grade magic item known as Stone Salve. And that is more an object for various equipment. I'm trying to remember. Do I put this in various equipment so that when you use it on someone with petrification it automatically stops? Or do I use it as something for petrified itself so that it recognizes it as a curing item, much like a milk bucket? That is the question. Because I feel like you shouldn't just be able to use a milk bucket. Petrification is a fairly high-grade actual, like, effect, so it probably shouldn't be overcome by 3 pieces of iron and a cow. Like, that sounds like I've just described a ritual component, but no. I feel like that shouldn't be the case. Okay, I think the last bit of news is that there is a form that has been sent around to all of the patrons. It is available both in Patron Clubhouse on the Discord as well as on the Patreon page itself, and that is to make sure that your custom creature types are put into the system, so that if you boot this up, we'll have your custom creature types by default. If you do not fill out that form, your creature types will not exist in the next set of in like the next beta. So I need people to fill that out pronto, please, because otherwise it's just gonna not, like, they just won't be there. So there are 12 responses to that so far. There's, I think, pushing 30 patrons. So yeah, get that checked out. You doing okay there? You doing alright, Sugar Cube? Okay. Right, so what do we want to see today? Do we want to see wargs, which are like wargs but bigger? Much, much bigger. Or do we want to do a quick little bit of work for various equipments? Let me know. Also, let me know if you're alive, because I more or less haven't seen chat since the intro screen went on. I'm sure we had a warg around here at some point. Not sure what exactly happened to them. At some point, I also really need to actually deal with this texture problem, because that shouldn't be there at all. But it just is. Kind of looks okay on the mostly. Cure for petrification would be nice. Yeah, I agree. Is that the only voter I'm getting? Oh yeah, I set up the various heights of door here, just to, like, try and see just, like, what height of building is possible. And it's just like, I still, like, dwarves probably shouldn't go, anything that is medium-sized at least, shouldn't auto go into swimming pose there. I'm not 100% certain how that's happening, but... oh well. Actually, there's a similar bug with crabs for some reason. You'll see it in a hot second here. Which is, they look more or less okay. You can kind of tell there's some, like, yellow shimmering there, but why it looks like lava here, I don't know. I think it's the way the texture of entangles is interacting with the texture of, like, the actual mob. So the bright red crabs turn, like, weird red vines, whereas the bright green goblins turn to, like, bright green. It's a bit weird. You can also kind of make out the pillager's eyes through this occasionally. It's a weirdness. Oh, oh no. I've entangled Sugar Cube. Hang on. I'm sure Sugar Cube was made to actually teleport, but apparently not. Hey, come on. You're doing okay. There you go. Okay. Just hang around there. Alright then. I don't think there's been any other major changes. I've changed the status effect abilities around a bit, so that the duration of the effect that they give you is now 10 seconds, rather than the original 5. Which was mostly for night vision, because dark vision gives you a night vision effect at 5 seconds, so every time it starts to tick down below 5 seconds, it starts to flicker the horizon very rapidly, which was not a great detail. But I've also added, like, event handling and proper checking and whatnot packets, so that now when an ability is removed, there's, like, a status effect, it can actually perform cleanup. So it can remove status effects, for instance. So consequently, if I got rid of that, then I would immediately no longer have night vision. All well and good. Anyways, yeah, let's start work with the stone itself, shall we? So let's see, we want potion petrifying, because I just want to check here. Yeah, that's a handy thing. Set curative items, empty list. That means that every time it ticks down, it is making sure that the status effect that you have is not cured by buckets of milk. Which, once you get to actual petrified status, you can't drink anyways. So it becomes a null, a non-issue at that stage. Oh, I probably should do that anyways. Should probably make sure that happens. Oh yeah, the exact in-game duration of petrification when it comes through petrifying is 100 in-game days. Which is not forever, but it is damn near close. That has to be said. Petrified, set curative items. You could theoretically wait it out, yes, though by then I imagine you're probably dead. Of boredom, if nothing else. Yeah, there's the packet. Interesting. I wonder why that wasn't getting sent through. Okay. So, petrifying no longer allows any kind of curative items. Petrified doesn't allow any curative items. So, let's switch to various equipment real quick. Actually, how an in-game day is 20 minutes, so 200 minutes. So, a little over 3 in-game hours real-world time, essentially. If you are willing to wait for 3 hours, then sure, it'll work just fine. So let's see, we want salve stone. New item, salve stone. Which doesn't exist yet, but it will in a hot minute. Okay. I don't think this is using a version of various oddities that actually has petrification, so I would need to update that theoretically, but we can build the main code for it to work on something else right now. Yep, I'm just importing basically everything here. At some point I also need to figure out how we're going to be doing wings. Because we've got tails, we've got horns, we don't currently have wings. Which is, some could argue, a rather significant shortcoming of a lot of people's RP, especially in a fantasy setting. So... how do they make foods these days? Because that's kind of the major thing that works here. I guess we already have food spoon, that's kind of exactly what we're looking for. So, let's see. If I break open Various Oddities 112, we should be able to see the stone salve that was in here. Stone salve is single use, it is fairly low numbers, but it gets rid of petrification, which is kind of a major deal. There you are. So it is stack size of 16. Okay. Nothing else needs to be written there. Okay, on update, cure the entity, which is if they are petrified, remove petrification. And then if we did that, then just that. Okay, so that's if it's in your inventory, it'll do that, which is highly convenient, suffice it to say. So let's see, there should be an on update in here. I know I've used an on update before. I just don't remember exactly where. Oh, I think maybe on coatings? Not sure. Is that like an inventory tick that I'm looking for here? Where is it? Inventory tick. There you are. Called each time as long as the item is on a player's inventory, used by maps to check if the player if it is on a player hand and update its contents. That is exactly what I need. Okay. And then the next one is used on entity. True, if the item can be used on a given entity, shears on a sheep. Well, for our case, it's are they petrifying or petrified? don't have either of these things in here. So, for right now, we'll use as a stand-in, I guess slowness. That's a good pass. Because that means if you try to right-click on a villager, you'll still be able to access their shop. Okay, there should be another one for what happens when you do use it on them. Logically. And yet, I don't see it. Nope, that's just damage. Kobolds item is used when targeting a block. Nope. I feel like... okay, cheers. Feels like if there's not one already, then yep, right, it performs it right there. Okay. So I need to perform the action here, otherwise return that. So target.remove active potion effects. We should probably check if we're in creative mode, just to be real clear. Just check if it's taking an an entity, then I presume it's not necessarily a player. But okay, so cure entity with that stack, that entity, and entity in.get type equals entity types.player, and player entity in dot is creative. Let's see if entity in instance of living entity. So let's say stack player in, actually no, stack target player in dot is creative. Nope, not is child. Though I don't know how Minecraft would necessarily know that. Okay. Straightforward. So let's hop into our test world and see if we can remove the slowness effect from anything. We don't have access to things like Dazed, I think. Oh no, we do have access to Dazed, we just don't necessarily have it rendering properly just yet. It is very important that this works on visual potions, because otherwise you're just guessing based on the color of their particles turning off, and of course if there are no particles, how do you know? But being able to see that someone has been petrified and knowing therefore you have stone salve in your inventory, that then you can do that, helps a lot. should not be played while driving. I have questions. Mostly concerns, but also questions. Alright, so that right there is holy water. And that right there is stone salve, which immediately left. Okay, yeah, there's already a problem. Is that because we didn't add a check inside of the function that we're calling in the inventory, we can't actually have it in our inventory because it immediately decreases. Whoops. There. Now we have an out, in case it doesn't actually have the effect. And just while that's booting back up, I will add the lang here. I definitely have a texture for it from 112, but we'll not worry about that too much right now. Okay. Good, it stays in my inventory. And I should be able to at least make it look like a lookstone for the moment. No new cosmetics, by the way, of late, because I've been working very hard to get the species select screen working properly. Okay. So I currently have a single stone salve. Let's up that to 5 and try to give myself the slowness effect. Okay. Well, we definitely have some kind of problem here because I clearly have the effect, but not here. So, what happened there? Hey, Espa. How you doing? I can only presume that an inventory tick is happening on a specific side, and therefore we need to check if that's the case here. So if target dot get worlds dot is remote. If I reapply that, do I get the same thing? Yeah. But good news, it is actually taking it off, so it's just apparently not. Apparently there's some desynchronization issue with my client, because clearly I have particles, but I don't actually have an actual potion going on. Sometimes the network code of Minecraft is very weird. Very weird indeed. Okay, potion item? Let's have a look at you. So this happens on item use finish, adds the potion effect. Milk buckets, let's have a look at you. That's also item use finish. World in is not remote, meaning if it's server side. Okay. In that case, we can just do that. Theoretically, we'll find out. after these messages. See you all in 10. Go get yourselves a snack. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. So just before we left off, we were attempting to re-implement the Stone Salve low-grade magical item, whose only function is to, I guess, absorb petrification effects, which includes both the petrified status effect, in which you are blind and cannot move and can only see a screen, and the petrifying, in which you are progressively more frozen. But we're currently using slowness as our metric. So let's see if it works. Effect, give, dev, slowness. Okay, we definitely still have it. Somehow. That's very curious. Not entirely certain quite why that's happening. In fact, now we have it, if anything, more than before. Arguably, this is the main chunk. This right here. What we're trying to do here is make it so that you don't actually have to use it on yourself to actually apply it. But that's probably a better idea, honestly, than just having it passively try to cure you. Like, I'm being petrified. I recognize that I'm petrifying because I've got the status effect in my top right, so I should go into my inventory, find the stone salve, and apply it quickly. That sounds better than just you get it, an item somewhere in your inventory ticks down, and now you don't have it. Like, I think that's probably better because that also means you have to recognize the danger of the situation, which, that's pretty nice. So sure, let's take a page out of item food spoon. So let's see. Take that. Do that. Basically just that again. So swapping out for passivity, or swapping out for passive protection to actually, like, a thing you have to do. What should we make the use time? That's my next question. I don't actually see anything in here, but I guess it's the food part that's making it do that? Let's find out. Use action. Should be in here somewhere. Yeah. So if it is food, eat, otherwise none. Okay. If it is food, then 32 tick, or 32 integer, which I don't think is 32 seconds, but who knows. Let's see. Drink is... What do we think is the most appropriate thing here for applying a salve to yourself? I guess either eating or drinking. I'm not sure which. It's irrelevant, because either way it takes the same amount of time. It just changes what sound it plays, I guess. I guess if it's a drink, the implication is that you're... like, the sound it plays, you're just, like, knocking it back. Can we use the slime sound? I don't know. I don't think so. I think the use actions all have an associated sound. But we can certainly check and find out. It'd certainly be interesting if it took... If the use duration of the salve was sufficiently long that you had to make... You had to just, like, watch the thing ticking down whilst you're using it. Like, after a certain point, you don't have the time to use it anymore. Is there a can use? Is the next question, I guess. Because you shouldn't be able to use it unless you've got petrifying or petrifying. If you've got petrified, you can't use it. Period. On use, called as the item is being used by an entity. We don't have anything inside of the food spoon that determines if in fact... Okay, on item use, maybe, pass. On item right click is food. Okay, there we are. So if is food... God, it'd be weird to classify this as food. Accurate, but weird. Technically speaking, the food spoon is actually classed as a melon slice. it's just an unlimited melon slice. At first I was afraid I'd be petrified. Right. On item right click appears to be the main code that we need for this. So in our case, we know it is food, so we know we're just using that one particular bracket. Again, still seems weird to be calling it food, but yeah. Okay, so at this point we need a can cure, I guess. So return target.getEntityWorld that is remote, or target.isPotionActive effects.slowness in our case for right now. Is that what we need? Yeah, I think we can just go up here and work it out. So, if player in is potion active effects.slowness. So essentially, no matter what, doesn't matter what data is inside of the particular potion effects, if it says that it can't be cured by anything, it can be cured by the stone salve. Of course, the stone salve in this case is only going to be curing slowness, and in later cases only petrifying. But, you know, we're going to see how this works. We're having desync of some description with the auto application, and I think this is a bit more immersive anyways. It's like, okay, I've been hit by a petrifying attack, I need to, find a safe space in case I do petrify, and then, go through my inventory, find the stone salve, and apply it. Sharpish. That makes sense to me. And just while that's booting up, let's have a look at use action and see if we can find where the noise is determined. So let's see, living entity, trigger item use effects, plays a sound, there. So there's the drink sound, there's the eat sound, which are, by the way, not stopped by the deafen effect. So we would need to probably inject something there to add a new sound, as well as to also inject a new use action for, salve? Slime? I don't know. I'm tempted to say that we would have to inject a use action called cream, but that could be extremely weirdly interpreted. Oh lord. Speaking of weird interpretations of things, actually, there's a strategy in Sea of Thieves that is very popular among live streamers and such because it's very bold and daring and frequently either goes completely awry or like actually has like tremendously amazing results. So naturally it makes good content. But it has a name which, if you're aware of the LGBT community and the things they go through, especially if you're trans, has a very distinctly different meaning. Because that particular strategy is called tucking. So there's countless videos of like straight up cishet white dude bros essentially just like playing Sea of Thieves and enthusiastically telling their friends how well they've tucked. And it is so incredibly hilarious to me. But yeah, okay. So, we got our stone salve. I can't do anything right now because I'm not slowed. It's a strategy? Yeah, the strategy of tucking in Sea of Thieves is that there's varieties of outfits and emotes that you can use that make your character harder to see, especially in the dark. So tucking is you go aboard somebody else's ship, you hide yourself, you tuck, like tuck away, and then you wait for an opportune moment, either like to blast the thing to Kingdom Come, to kill them, to steal their loot, that kind of thing. That's what tucking is in Sea of Thieves. Tucking in the LGBT community, especially the T part of that, is, I guess, similarly making something go away, not be visible. Just like, I legit could only assume that the trans definition of tucking was somehow an option in Sea of Thieves. Kind of, actually, because there are masculine and feminine body types inside of Sea of Thieves. You can get a character like mine who has boobs, or you can get one that doesn't, that kind of thing. That's the extent of it. They do not have, as far as I know, anything on the lower end. But after that, nothing in Sea of Thieves is like, none of the cosmetics are like gender locked in any fashion. Hence, my character has both boobs and a beard, which is lovely for me because that's, yeah. Anyways, so once again, apply the slowness. And what we should see then is that I'm able to actually use the stone salve. Yep. But I still have the slowness. In fact, nothing is happening. Interesting. Okay. We're essentially trying to re-implement food. Because I don't really want to implement a food of stone salve, but here we are. Okay, so we are doing the action. Good. We've got the duration, we've got the use action, we've got the on-right click. Item use finish doesn't seem to be working. For whatever reason. Which is mostly interesting because we have it exactly here already, and it works just fine. I guess we can get rid of that part. We can probably just code these things separately. So let's see. Entity living dot remove active potion effects dot slowness. We are mostly just fighting Minecraft at this point. That's all that's happening. Okay, and this part is mostly the same, I think. So if, let's see, target, start is potion active. Oh, not slow falling, slowness. If player in get world. We're not actually testing this part, so I probably shouldn't be worrying about it too much. Okay. That should all be good. Is there an update of some description? Like use time. See, there's on item use. Colon item is used when targeting a block. Not interested. Right click, use finish. Call when the player finishes using this item. Not call when the player stops using the item before the action is complete. Good. Not seeing anything else. On player stops using, golden player stops using, item stops holding the right mouse button. That shouldn't be an issue. Alright. Once more. I'm getting a distinct sensation that remove active potion effect is not actually helping our case here. Like there's probably something else. In fact, let's have a look at Milk Bucket item again. Because it's on item use finish. Start drinking. Flip bucket, that's fine. Creative modes. Server player entity. Trigger that, that's fine. Cure potion effects. Oh lordy, there's a lot going on here. Ah, potions need updates. Okay. So if we check remove active potion effect. Yeah. Interesting. I think it needs to be this one. Remove potion effect rather than remove active. Does not call cleanup callbacks. Aha, right. That's probably it then. That's probably why we're not actually removing anything. Hopefully that works now. Yeah, sorry, Sweden, that's gonna happen a fair bit on streams like this. Because the error noise is also the noise that Windows uses when you like cycle back on a search. I wonder if that's possibly why the inventory version wasn't working either. I think I do like actually having to apply the stone salve though. I think doing it automatically was useful, but having to actually apply it yourself feels more like a use of equipment, I guess. Okay, I'm in creative mode, so yes, it correctly did not tick down. If I go to survival, run the same thing, just that will go down to 2. Good, okay. Now let's apply that to our handy-friendly kobold here. Okay, good. And again in survival, just to be on the safe side. Grand! Okay, we don't actually have the hand action, which is the main thing I think we could do with that. But, grand. So if we get a buckets item, let's see, on right click, there's presumably a swing hand somewhere in here. Like, presumably one way or another, you're swinging your hand. Head stats, play sound, fill, trigger, criterias. Not actually seeing anything related to that, actually. Very curious. Okay. Well, that's fine. Okay, so we have an item we can use to cure ourselves of slowness, and we have an item that we can use to cure other entities of slowness. And if we are in creative mode, it doesn't shrink, which is perfect. And the other thing is that we need to actually be accounting for 2 different potion effects so that you can cure someone who's fully petrified. So let's say for the time being the other one is mining fatigue. And once I update the version of Varus Odysseys that this is using, because those states effects are like less than a week old, or like a couple of days at tops, I think. We'll just change those to petrified and petrified. Grand and good. Just gonna tidy this up a little bit. I don't know how a player would potentially start using an item if they're petrified, but that should be impossible, but this is Minecraft, so who knows. Okay. Yeah, I think that's ticks. How many seconds do you think Steve Minecraft can very hastily apply Stone Salve to himself? I'm tempted to say 6 seconds, because that will take an entire tier of petrifying. So you get to like see yourself, like your FOV goes into slowness mode a bit more whilst you're applying it still. But an alternative, that might seem like that's too much. Let's find out what the SRD says. There you are. Stone Salve. Let's see. If an ounce of it is applied to the flesh of a petrified creature, returns the creature to stone to flesh as the stone to flesh spell. If an ounce of it is applied on the flesh of a non-petrified creature, it protects the creature as a stone skin spell, which we don't currently have applied, but something to consider. I feel like if it doesn't say, I feel like it should take like 6 seconds. Like, ticks per second times, we'll say 4. So you'll probably see that it'll tick down, but it's not huge. It's still more time than you'd like to spend, like drinking a potion or eating something in combat, but there you go. So let's see how that feels. And while that boots up, I'll try and find the texture for this item from 112. 112, when literally every part of the various family was in various oddities. Whew. Let's see, salve, bottle, and liquids. Is that the thing I'm after? I think it will be. Right, because it's slightly animated. I remember that now. Yep, there's the liquid. Is that what I made stone salve look like? I think I'm thinking of silver sheen. My brain's just going automatically to silver sheen over here. I was like, that's not what I remember it looking like. But no, it is in fact exactly what I remember it looking like. My memory just sucks. Where are you? Stone salve. There you are. That should make it look properly. We hope. Actually, I probably need to change it here a little bit, because it's probably referring still to various oddities. Yep, there we go. So, salve liquid, salve bottle. I don't think I have any colouring going on with that. Should be fine as is. Jesus, that's an old memory. This, that particular text refers to the webcomic, which I think is still going, called Order of the Stick. Which is particularly memorable to me, because Order of the Stick is where I got my artistic start. And it's a webcomic built in, it's essentially a campaign in Dungeons & Dragons. Not sure it's meant to be this color, but it sure is now. So there's stone salve. I forgot I was still in my kobold costume here. Like drawing on that side, figure even did some Langverse fan art like that. Wow, that is full circle. Okay, that looks pretty good to me actually. And same will happen if I apply mining fatigue. One hopes. Yeah. Except that I don't think we have... Yeah, we didn't have the mining fatigue in here. Now they're the same place. So now, no matter what, they should cure it in either case. Right. I believe that's stone salve complete. So if we drop it over here, we can actually alter how frequently you find it. It's one of the more easy things to find, because there might be a theoretical situation where you're playing a hardcore world, you happen to walk into, like, the area of a Gorgon or something, which has petrifying gas as a weapon. So, if you haven't had the opportunity to find stone salve at that point, want to make sure you've got some chance. Let's see. So I just need to run the data on that and make sure it ends up. Let's see. Magic item miner. Annoyingly, the JSON formatting here is not as easy to see. I usually run a dark version of Eclipse because it's easier for my eyes. Although my eyes don't much mind these days. I should note, these glasses are not prescription in any fashion. People coming into the stream might think these are prescription glasses. No, these are Gunnar lenses. And what they mean is, well, what they ostensibly do, I should say, they might have lost some efficacy over the years, is that computer monitors put out a bunch of blue light, and debatably, the science of this is not 100% conclusive, but debatably, that can be harmful for your eyes and, like, in the long term. Both of my parents wear glasses, so I figured it probably worth trying to take care of my eyes in some measure. Okay, magic item miner now includes stone salve. Good, good, good. So now, we should be able to see that show up. I should probably also add, like, a thing of how many that ends up, like, giving you. Like, is there an extra value? Because everything else up here is basically, like, you only need one of it. But quantity, weight, let's see, quality, weight. I guess there could be a function. Need to check. But yeah, like my original start with art was drawing Order of the Stick. Not quite fan art, but just like the same art style, Berlin stick figures, if you will. But in just like MS Paint. Way back when. And then later I picked up Inkscape, which is still down on my bar here, even though I never get any time to do art anymore. Okay. This will just create fishing treasure, and if we look at our loot provider, we should see fishing treasure includes the, let's see, buried, there's a pyramid, and city, I think fishing is near the bottom, yeah. Includes cosmetics, does not include everything else, so we want magic item miner. Ideally with the highest weight we can find, which I think is 8. So, just simple dungeon. Simple underscore dungeon. Let's find out what happens. Okay, I can already see some over there. I can also see a bunch of silver sheen. Fey beware. Okay. But we do have a little bit of stone self right there. Yep, more there. Think there's... Could be horse armor, could be stone self there, I think. Okay, yeah, that does seem to work. Good, good, good. Just clear that up. Okay, so stone salve works and already appears in treasure. Good, good, good. As I say, I do want to add a condition to that so that we actually have a number of it. Or a function, rather. Have I used functions here anywhere? I don't know. Nope. Is there any reference code that I can check here? Oh, sweet Christ. Oh, Lord. Oh, gods. Oh. Oh. Oh, it's so bad. Oh. To give you an idea of what I'm looking at here, that is so egregious, it is lagging Eclipse. This is all of the loot tables in vanilla Minecraft, for chests at least, but generated individually in a single line. Oh my god. Oh. I can hardly scroll it because it's just that wide. Oh. Well, I found the part I was looking for anyways, but oh. Oh, why would you do this? This is completely and utterly unreadable. How do you even, like, check what the weight values are? Oh. Never do this. Never do this. Oh, because no one was. I'm going to hope and pray that this is legacy. That this was like imported via an automated process, and this is just how they've left it. But this is. Oh, that's bad. That's so bad. Anyways, that's all that we needed to do there. Let's just find that. Jeez. Like, it lags Eclipse just to, like, check it. Everything else, no problem. As soon as I click on that... Oh. You know you've done something horrifying when you lag a text editor. Oh. That's so bad. Why? Why would you do this? Only villains do this. Oh, lordy. Okay, that should be every detail, though, fixed up. I'll just run data again. Eclipse crying out in pain, yeah. Attempting to view how the loot tables in Minecraft Vanilla are generated caused Eclipse to cry out for death. God. Oof. These are the things that we occasionally encounter here. Okay, just write that. So now we can have a count value to it. Yep, function, set count. So now you can find more than one. Actually, I should just be able to give it the minor magic item list. Borrowed magic item minor. I feel like I spent the opening hour just describing all of the things, because it's been a fairly productive week. And then we spent the second hour just getting Stone Cell to work properly. We already know the code's getting ejected, so I'll just try and run the actual magic item table. What we should hopefully see, fingers crossed first time, is just magic item minor. It's just items from there, especially multiple stone cells at a time. And I've definitely hacked that up slightly, because it clearly does not know what that is. Oh, because I gave it Vara instead of Vara QP. Of course. Yeah, this is like the most entertaining way to test loot tables are working. But yeah, we got one there, we got at least two there. Should go up to... did I set it to 4? I think I set it to 4. Fairly certain I set it to 4, but who knows anymore. An endless supply of mildly nourishing gruel. Yay. I should add description text to Stone Salve as well, so you know what that does. I think it's mostly hovering at 2, which makes a fair degree of sense that it'll be the kind of like mid-range. So yeah, I think that works. Okay, yeah, let's add some text to this. Because if it just says Stone Salve, what is Stone Salve, precious? Well, that should be good. Okay. Last touch, I think. What gender is this demon? Good question. Roll an insight check. Okay. Cures petrification when applied to self or others. Yeah. Straightforward. Okay. Very simple little change to make there. Hey, what I'm... we're reopening basically everything in about a week here, and that will presumably include hairdressers, but also this is a terrifically terrible idea. So I'm probably still not going to be able to get my hair done for an age. Which, bleh. At this point, my roots are overtaking my actual dye. Just, yeah. I hate it. I hate it so much. Eventually my ponytail will be the only parts of me that's actually the right color. Okay. There. Cures petrification when applied to self or others. Good, good. Hopefully that's sufficiently hopefully that's sufficiently clear that it'll affect petrifying as well as petrified. Who knows? The next thing we could theoretically do now that we've got the Entangled Stairs effect re-implemented is also add the Tanglefoot bags, which are essentially... They're essentially splash potions, mechanically speaking. You chuck them, and they create Tanglefoot in an area, and that entangles things. The difference being that they're created a bit more... they're created a bit more complexly like that. They're created using basic alchemy, which I might actually re-implement various equipment. I was planning on doing that for various magic, but I feel like people would appreciate it being in equipment. Because equipment is not necessarily magical, although we do have some magic items here. The food spoon, as low grade as it is a magic item. The luck stone is a magic item. But, like, there are magical items in here, so I guess it's not a huge thing. Technically speaking, I guess holy water could be considered magic as well. Stops or cures petrification when applied to self or others. How many lines of text do we want to have in there? I think it's sufficient. Like, if you get the effect and you stop being able, and you right click on it, then presumably you'll notice it. We definitely want it to be clear that it's yourself or others, so that you know that you can actually use it. Because if it was just said on others, then you'd need a second person in your potentially hardcore single player world. But, oh boy, so many things. Most of them cosmetics, because my community are wild and feral. I'm just trying to think. In order to get basic alchemy going, we'd need to actually re-implement the alembic and the mixer. Which is complex tile entities, and also inventories, and oh boy. I think that would be worth it though. Basic alchemy is basically making of things like potions before you get access to the Nether, essentially. So you're able to pick up some glass and some stone, a little bit of iron. You can start to make extremely basic potions. But as well as potions, you can also make certain alchemical concoctions, including Tanglefoot bags and alchemist fire. I'll let you guys decide. Do we want to have like basic alchemy and such inside of various equipment, or as part of various magics down the road? I guess technically alchemy is just chemistry, and we don't associate the natural processes of chemistry and physics and whatnot with like magic, because it's procedural, protocol, that kind of thing. Oh, hey Dev. Dev says equipment. Yeah, I guess I'm coming around to that idea. So I'll put that on my to-do list down here. So we want the alembic, the mixer, and then we want Tanglefoot bag and alchemist's flask. That kind of thing. I think there's some other stuff. Let's have a look. Let's see. EO items. There you are. Oh lordy, so much here. Let's see, vials. There's... oh, right, yeah, that's the Thunderstone. Alchemy implies a magical or mystical component that separates it from real or current world chemistry. Yeah, I like to imagine Tanglefoot bags as people with pockets full of spaghetti. Very angry green spaghetti. Antitoxin... Thunderstone... vials of acid, I think was another thing. I don't remember if you make those in that, but... There. The basic idea was use the alembic to make some things, and then you use the mixers and whatnot to shake them. You can also shake them by hand, just by clicking enough. And then you smelt them, and it gets that. So you could theoretically automate the entire process, which I enjoyed. Having to shake things felt like you were actually doing some kind of science. or some kind of alchemy. I love very small details inside of gameplay like that still somehow makes it feel more like your character is actually doing a thing. Because it's like 90% of modded Minecraft is I shove things into a space and then I right click and it does a thing. Whereas like having to stop and apply like as an example, the stone salve, because you're petrifying feels more like you're taking time doing something versus it just applying itself automatically. And going into like the crawl pose when you're burrowing makes sense. And waving your mouse cursor around when you're blind, allowing you to see things, makes it feel like you're running your hands against things. Like, these weirdly small touches that somehow feel more immersive. Fascinating stuff, really. Anyways, I am over time here, so I'll be back in about 10 minutes. See you at 15:15. Have a nice break. Welcome back, everybody, to the final hour of our evening tonight, and I don't think I've got a whole ton more stuff to do, at least not in terms of things I can get done in an hour, because Various Oddities is in a good state right now, and what's mostly going to be happening with that before the next beta is I'm just waiting on form returns from patrons to get their custom creature types embedded into the code. That has a deadline of tomorrow, so there's not a whole ton more that I can do, at least not necessarily stuff that I want to implement in a fashion where it might cause problems. So there's another thing that I thought I could do, which is I want to add a craftable bauble called, I guess, an outfit or a costume, which is essentially combinations of these cosmetics. And that would be a complex MBT item, because I would need to know what item it was, what its color was, that kind of thing. I need to store all of that MBT data. I need to store that in a specific input order so that you can always take parts out, put more parts in, and what that will mean is that you currently have 4 cosmetic slots, and pretty much every cosmetic fits into a cosmetic slot as well as another kind of curio slot. But the more options for combination that I can give people, the better. So, for instance, you can combine different horns to create a formation that you happen to find most suiting for your character, that kind of thing, but it might take multiple cosmetic slots, and then you have fewer slots to use for a tail, wings, other things, that kind of thing. Tails, wings, and other things. That's a very, wow, I wish I'd thought of that as a tagline for various equipment ages ago, but yeah. So we're going to try and make ourselves an outfit item. essentially. So, should we call them outfits or costumes? What do we think? Anyone know? Anyone have an idea, a feeling, an opinion? Can still use it? I guess, it's just we don't have wings. We have tails and other things, we don't have wings. For right now, I'll just call it costume. I can refactor later. Stack size of 1. Okay. The bulk of this is probably going to be mostly in the rendering, plus the, well, more or less anything else, pretty much. Okay. So this isn't going, the costume isn't going to be dyeable, but the individual parts can be. And then essentially we need to go through the NBT, find ourselves a list of item stacks, decrypt those, convert them into cosmetics, if indeed they are cosmetics, and they should all be, but you never know, and then run the render function on them. That should be all that needs to happen. So, here's hoping. Let's see. Item. Doesn't need to be array. Or could it be a list? List be easy to deal with. How incredibly efficient do I want to be here? Right now, not very. So we'll make it a list. Okay, so for item component in get components stack does it want to be an item cosmetic or could it be something else? I feel like it should be cosmetic. Yeah. What is the string identifier in this case? I presume, does that relate to the slots that it's in? Who knows? Oh, it might need to be item stacks, actually. If we need the stack input for the render function, then we probably need it to be stacks. This feels like the logical endpoint of the stuff that I get up. They have the whole like cosmetic plan for various equipment here. Just like, here's a bunch of things that you can use to make your character look weird, and also you have like 4 extra slots to do exactly use them exactly in whatever combination you like. Also, you can combine them into whatever combination you can imagine. Just, oh boy. Okay, now we need to actually get that. So, if stack.has tag, then, let's see, it should be an array or a list? It'll be an array in that, but I guess that's list NPT. Oh, right, yes. This would be 10, I think. I think compounds are 10. Am I correct? Yes, I am, for once. Good. Okay. Item stack helper still exists? Yes, it does. Load all items. Okay. I think. Let's see. Wow, that's actually pretty much exactly what I need, except it comes with a slot. Non-null list item stack. Pretty sure those need to have a size. Okay. Essentially, we're turning an item. Essentially, this is going to be a container inventory. Non-list item stack components equals non-null list dot with size list.size, and you're gonna be defaulting to item stack.empty, which is, fun fact, the actual item stack.empty is actually a block of air. Just the way things go sometimes. Okay, that should be ready to go. We obviously just need to actually register it. I'm not going to put that into props or indeed anything, because this is something that just exists as a combination of things. It'll be crafted, but yeah. Okay, and then crafting, I think, is the next stop. Really, I should have recipes in here somewhere. The data? There they are. Okay. So if you take 2 item cosmetics, and you combine them, then that should create a costume. We could give ourselves a costume, but it wouldn't have anything in it, so it's kind of irrelevant. Okay. So if the item is an instance of item cosmetic, don't need to care about tail total. And costume itself is not an instance of that. Okay, so item stack equals new item stack ve items dot costume and item stack helper save new, well, call it stack data, I guess. Stack data cosmetics. but that's fine. There, and... okay, save all items is complaining because we're giving it a list as opposed to a non-null list. But we can't know what the non-null list is until we know how many things they're going to be, so... I don't think I can convert that to a non-null list. Now what's your complaint? Ah, because it's an object, right. Okay, change that to an array. This feels like a lot of trouble for not much, but... There we go. Okay, if we register that, run the data, that should give us the capacity to combine at least 2 cosmetics to make a single costume. Register special recipe. Costume. Recipe, serializer. The next part, of course, is to check if there is a costume item, in which case we can add everything to that as well. And then also the uncrafting section, so you can actually like take things out again. Oh, there is a problem. Ah, I know where. I think. Yep, right there. Okay. Fingers crossed. After this, I have no idea what more I can do to make cosmetics accessible. Like, I think at that point we've peaked. Oh, I don't see costume in here. Hang on. There we go. Costume, straightforward. Type, costume. Costume of type costume. Of course, the item itself isn't finished yet. We also want to have actual, like, tooltip readout of the parts that are in it. Okay. We are currently attempting to make essentially a one-item, like, entire outfit for cosmetic purposes, so costuming, RP, that sort of thing. Because we have a hecking ton of them, because my fandom is feral. And they can take up to, like 6 different bauble slots currently, so if we can cut that down a bit for an entire outfit, all the better. Also makes changing costumes easier, if you just have to change out one item, I guess. That requires, however, a very dynamic item. Okay. Let's take Storm Sage Horns and where's the Kirin Tail? There's the Kirin Tail. Okay. So we plunk these in here. Good, we have a costume. It has a tag in it, which is the actual items. So if I plunk this on, I forgot to register it as a cosmetic, so we can't actually put it into the slots. Right, 1 second. But we crafted it, which is a good start. We have no idea if it works, but we crafted it. So close yet so far. I mean, being able to craft it is an important first step. At the very least. Okay. Should all be done. So if we check curios, cosmetic. Top of the list now is costumes. Good. So now we should be able to put it in that slot and see if the game crashes or if it renders appropriately. That's the key element here, is can we get this thing to fit in our cosmetic slot with configurable whatever kind of combination of items we want, and will it render them all properly? I.e. all with their separate colors, and like in their correct positions and all sorts. Also, I'm surprised no one's maybe do squats so far tonight. Of course, now that I've said that, like 5 people are probably just rushing to do it, especially Dusty. Or maybe Dave. Actually, no, most of my fandom wants to see me suffer, so I guess all of you. Okay. Got our costume item. Doesn't have a model or a name yet, but it's there. And it does not appear to render. Okay, that might be because we're failing to retrieve it. Let's find out. Is there an error message of any kind? Nope. Okay, right. It's the next thing to do then. Is there something in here that I should probably have forgotten about? Dival armor, nope. Item cosmetic, yes, that part's fine. Certainly looks like we gave it everything. So let's just add a printout here to see exactly what is going on. Could be that the item stack helper isn't quite loading everything. This is where things get a little bit fiddly. And if anybody watching wants to tinker around with this, various equipment is currently available on CurseForge. It is a add-on for various oddities and requires various oddities to run, as well as Curio's API. Otherwise, you should be able to play with it. It doesn't obviously have everything that we've been working on tonight, but it does have a whole ton of cosmetics. Whole heaping ton. Okay, let's plonk this back in. Not seeing the render get cold. That's fascinating. So there's something in here. I guess because we're extending out of item bauble persistent instead of cosmetic. Is that it? Let's check item cosmetic. Is there something in here? Aha! There we are. That's what I'm missing. It's not trying to render because it thinks it shouldn't try to render. It shouldn't try to render. Whoopsie. Now... I'm gonna set this to true and check through it, like just through here, if it needs to render a given thing. That way we should be able to have a mix of things that render differently. Logically, you should only be able to get cosmetic items into this, but you never know. Always good to have a check, because people can write whatever they like into with NBT. Component, don't get item. Okay, so if can render identifier, index, living, and components. Helps if I can type. Okay. So retrieves all the stored items, goes through them, checks if they can render, then does that thing. In which case this needs to just be true. So for most things, it's just, like most of the cosmetics we have, it's their body parts, essentially. So if you're invisible, they're invisible, so they don't render, but who knows? We might add something later, like, I don't know, a trench coat. Who knows? I don't know why we would add a cosmetic trench coat, and not just make that like a chestplate item, but... to be thematic without sacrificing protection. I guess... But... once you get into the point of, like, layering items like that, it tends to be... Oof. I think the day you stop thinking of cosmetics to add is the day you die. I hope not. Hey! Okay. Boy, that looks weird. But that's now 2 pieces that are controlled by 1 cosmetic slot. Okay, grand and good. Let's make the recipe even more complex. Okay, so for that we need an item stack of a costume. Else if stack.getItem equals veitems.costume. If costume.isEmpty, costume equals stack, else return false. There. Okay, so if cosmetics is empty but costume isn't, or are we basically just looking for either a costume or more than, or at, we're looking for a costume or cosmetics, I think. So not, like, one of these must be true. Okay. So that's just a matter of, do we have an existing costume or do we want to get more? In which case, in here it would help us to have a function for setting components, or adding components. So, static void add components. Okay. So list, well, actually no, if stack.getItem does not equal veitems.costume, then we can just return. Shouldn't ever be called, but again, always good to future-proof against against people being silly with NBT. God, there's an idea. If you made a costume and used special NBT data to insert non-cosmetic items into it, then the function of being able to put a costume into the crafting grid to retrieve a component of it would allow you to essentially rifle through pockets. That's an entertaining prospect, but that would be very like adventure map only kind of thing, but entertaining nonetheless. List item stack existing equals get components from the stack. Oh, right, that's not a stack. Yeah. Okay. I need a null list with all of existing.add all components in, and then non-null list item stack final comp with from item stack dot empty existing dot to array new item stack there. Okay. Item stack helper dot save all items stack dot get tag comp. Okay. I'm just going to convolute this a little bit. Stack.hasTag to stack.get tag otherwise new comp. There. Okay, costume recipe. So if costume.isEmpty costume equals new item stack. So then item costume dot add components to costume power cosmetics. There. Just a safe measure there. So if cosmetics is less than 2 and costume is empty, there. But if there's 2, and then it doesn't matter if costume's empty. Right. This should now allow us to have multiple things in here. Only one costume, multiple cosmetics. So we can just grab all of the tails and put them in. Essentially, we've gone from buying a whole ton of individual accessories to being able to peruse the Halloween costume aisle. Hopefully. I don't know how I'm gonna run. I don't know what the item icon of this is gonna look like. Just while that's booting, I'm gonna hop in here and start doing this part. Okay, tooltip dot add component dot get display name. That won't show up in here, but it'll help us to identify what contains what. Which is useful. I feel like under certain circumstances you're probably still going to want to like anvil things. Okay, so here's the current outfits. If I plonk this in there and add that, then we should see. I don't really want to toss my kobold tail in there. Let's go for like, rabbit ears. Okay. Well, I don't see rabbit ears. So there's a problem with the recipe. So where is this going wrong, I guess? Let's see, add components. If it's not a costume, skip, don't mind. Existing gets the components that are already there, which should be our Kieran parts. And then we add all the ones that are coming in, which is all the other ones that are in the crafting grid. I'm gonna have to put like a whole ton of logic into here, by the way, so that if there's just a costume, then retrieve the last thing that was put into it. Why are we not saying anything new? Well, we can actually, like, if I just reboot, I'll see what parts are in it now. So there's that. I can only presume it's part of... I can only presume it's part of how we're storing it. Like, at this point, we're just... At this stage, we're just a recipe science, essentially. Yeah, I feel like if you want to have, say, 2 different kinds of dragon costume with the exact same parts, this current readout is not going to show you what color each part is. But that's a little harder to do, because color range of armor is literal orders of magnitude greater than the color range of text in Minecraft. Okay, so... Storm Sage Horns, Kieran Tail. Good! I have no earthly idea how I just managed to duplicate that. But apparently I did. Okay, yep, there's a problem here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how, but there's a problem somewhere. How is that happening? Like, what's going on there? Okay, let's put in our logic a little bit here. So if cosmetics dot is empty and costume is not, then return item costume dot get components costume dot get 0. We'll say for time. Otherwise, if cosmetic size is less than 2, or otherwise, if cosmetics dot size is greater than or equal to 2, essentially we just do this. Otherwise, if cosmetics isn't empty, and the costume isn't empty, meaning we're trying to add things to something. Okay, that should be more or less the full thing. Here we actually just want to modify and return the costumes. That's a little bit more complicated related to having a holder item, but that should hopefully be the coding we need. So if I put that Kieran outfit in, we should see a pair of Kieran horns turn up. Please, please, please. Can I get this working in like the next 6 minutes? Oh boy. How did I save the most complex possible thing for... Okay, that's good. Let's take that, add rabbit tail. Does not recognize it. Okay, why not? Still not sure how it duplicated, but it doesn't seem to be now. If cosmetics is empty and costume isn't, then return the lens thing. Okay, but if cosmetics size is greater than or equal to 2 and costume is empty, then create a new costume. Otherwise, if cosmetics isn't empty, meaning there's at least 1 and there's an existing costume, add those things to the costume. I think. Just name these things. Create new costume and add cosmetics to costume. Okay. Let's see. If the stack is not empty, if it's a cosmetic, add it to the list. If it's a costume, yeah, okay. If it's anything else, empty. Essentially, this is just checking, is it the right component? So how logically could we possibly be getting down to here and still having an issue? If there's more than one costume, we fail. If there's something that isn't a costume or a cosmetic, we fail. Let me just need to go through this and just use that as our logic up here as well. So now they're all using the same logic at the very least. We've done the first step, creating a costume. Our problem being currently we can only do that with currently we can do that, but then we can't modify it. And you may not have all of the pieces of your costume at the start of the game. Like, you might want to change up your horns later on, or you might only find a kobold tail after a while. you should not necessarily be penalized for finding your costume pieces at different times. You shouldn't be penalized for making a costume item early. Okay. Why do you stay there? Come on. We can still make costumes. Okay. Why are we not able to make other things? Also, can we use... Okay, that's good. Let's start. We can make up to 9 different cosmetics into one costume. That's good. And then presumably... Yep, good. Foxtail. Good. It's a weird sight, but it's there. But we are struggling to get that to work. Why does it default there? Cosmetics is empty. We know it shouldn't be if we've got a foxtail in there. So, how are we getting to that stage? All these return, so we shouldn't be in a situation where we're getting to one earlier. Is the logic here somehow overlapping? There are no cosmetics, and there's a costume. I'm gonna go a little late on this because I want to get this working. I want this working properly. So let's see, checking costume output. Feels like it's just setting the output and then not updating it, but I'm not sure. Also, I kind of feel like I haven't accomplished a whole ton tonight, because I spent most of the first hour just showing stuff off. Okay. Costume, true. Cosmetics, 1. Well, 0. And apparently now there's a problem. Error. Unsupported. Okay, so it's having an error at the point where it tries to do that. Okie doke. inside of here, somehow there's a problem. Item costume, add components. Which is apparently... abstract list dot add. Yeah, apparently the problem is on this line, which doesn't make too much sense to me. They're both list item stacks, they shouldn't have a problem. At very least it should just return a new array list. Oh, because here it returns a non-null list. Right. Now I gotcha. Right, okay. Okay, that should mean that we just need to change this one little thing and it should work. Items for each item. If not item that is empty, then components.add item. There. Just skips over a few things there. Still doesn't check if they're cosmetics, but that's fine by us. Right. So now this definitely returns a list. A list item stack, specifically. Okay. Hopefully, that's all the trouble we have. Clover emoji. Somewhat importantly, because we're extending out of item bauble persistence, if you die whilst wearing a costume, you'll still respawn wearing the same costume. Which means we retain the rules of the cosmetics themselves. Okay. Then there. Okay. There. Hey! Hurrah! Hurrah! So, Storm Sage Horns, Kirin Tail, Storm Sage Horns, Kirin Tail, Foxtail. Yes! Okay. This'll look weird as hell, but let's see. Yeah, we got it. Okay. So the next part for me to do then is to just make sure that it retrieves the last piece put in, and then also doesn't completely destroy the costume itself, unless of course the costume itself is down to one item. Whew. Hooray! I should be able to do that just by... I know I've done something like that before. I can't for the life remember what, but I know I've done a recipe that involves that. Antennae, no. Holy water? Holy water, yes. Holy water has that. Which is done fairly simplistically. Where are you? Container item. There. Okay, so return that.copy, but that'll just return the whole thing empty. So when we get the retainer item, the container item, rather we want to remove the last thing. do this quickly? Let's find out. Can I just get the last one? No. Right. If components dot is empty, then return item stack dot empty. Actually, we can just change that up here. Return get components stack dot size is greater than 1. Or, no, actually, we can just handle it, I think, just by returning a non-costume item. So return... Let's see, item stack last comp equals components dot get components dot size -1. Last comp. So if it's equal after that, then bleh. Or rather, if components dot size equals 1, return last components. Otherwise, do all that. Okay. So if there is only one thing left in that, then return the last thing. Otherwise, that. We're currently returning the first thing, so we just need to change that here. Okay, so list items stack components equals item costume dot get components of the costume. There. Yep, that should be okay. Fingers crossed. We've got add and remove operation now. In which case we should be able to retrieve the foxtail from our costume. I'm doing a lot for one recipe here, but worth it. Okay. So here's our weird one with the foxtail. Returns a foxtail and leaves it behind. Yes, so we can actually just remove all of the... Okay, that's a slight bug, but that's still okay for the most part, because we can fix that part fairly straightforward. That's just how I'm... That's just to do with how I'm doing things here. So if component size 1, then empty. Because we just presume that we're taking out the last thing that was added. Again, I don't know what kind of item, like, icon I'll have for this thing, what its little texture will be, but obviously I can't just render all of the icons of the component items, because that could get very weird looking. Okay, can we do this without duplicating now? Okay. Goods. Goods. Gone. Beautiful. Does mean we can have a costume with just one item in it, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah, there we go. Full combinatorial costumes. Jesus Christ, I have no idea how many combinations I've got now, but it's gotta be in the millions. Oh lord. Like, we've got heads, head and back are where, like, the horns go, plus the 4 cosmetic. That's 6 different slots. This many cosmetics, plus blindfolds, yeah. And you can combine all of the cosmetics together in whatever combination or number you like. Dear Lord. Okay. Yeah, I think that's enough progress for one night. Just like that, you can turn the whole costume off. Yay! I think this is where one looks at the number of ways and goes, whoops. I guess a little bit. There we go. I now have a 1-item fox costume. Right there. Yeah, I can even rename it to say so. Okay. Hope everybody's enjoyed that. Brain, stop trying to make suggestions, because I don't think I need to make this. I don't think I need to make the costume itself dyeable. Oh lord. Now imagine if I decide to add wings. I will be adding wings. I mostly just need to figure out how to do it. Because if I add them as a pure cosmetic, then they have no function. In which case, how do they interact with Elytra? And if I add them as, like, being part of an ability, then you have to have somehow access that ability, in which case it's not a cosmetic. It's like, how if they're probably going to be baubles, so they can be persistent and whatnot, in which case, what happens if you're also wearing an Elytra, and they also have to know about flight? It's a complicated thing. There's also modeling wings in Minecraft is not a trivial thing. Because Minecraft sucks at that kind of elegance, as it were. Anyways, my throat is going. I've just done something utterly absurd. So, I hope you've all enjoyed. My next stream there'll probably be one on Wednesday. We'll see exact timing, keep an eye on Twitter for that, but that'll be Come Block Home. After that, on Thursday, we'll have some Sea of Thieves or some Among Us with the Will of Madness crew, as well as the community after that. And then on Saturday, we should have some more Carousel with the patrons, spinning the wheel to play some random games, and we'll be back for more stuff on Tuesday. Other than that, any videos I make are over at youtube.com/remembercomic, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. And if you're a patron, there's a form you can fill out to get your own custom selected creature types going. So enjoy that. Otherwise, hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all ever next time.